Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hello friends, this is Vijay. Welcome to ForumIAS Hindu Daily. In our today's news discussion, we will be seeing the first topic related to the TB. It came in the editorial part. Then the second one, it is about the deficiency in Indian Air Force. Here we will be discussing some facts related to the fighter jets, what we are having and what are the issues we are facing these days. Then the third one, it is about the PSLV C-55 mission. Tomorrow morning, ISRO is going to launch the PSLV C-55 mission. Then the fourth topic is related to the sloth bear. Then the last topic, here we will be discussing about the Eat Right Food movement. Then the Eat Right Food Streets initiative. So these are the topics we are going to cover today. Apart from these topics, we will be discussing the previous prelims question. Now, without any delay, let us dive into the first part. This is the article section. This is the first article for the day. It came in the editorial section. Actually, the author of the article is Soumya Swaminathan. He is the former DG in WHO. And this is the second article. It is related to the deficiency in Indian Air Force. Then this is the article for PSLV C-55 mission. And this is the fourth topic. It is related to the sloth bear. And this is the last article of the day. Eat Right Food Streets initiative. The government they are having a plan to take this initiative. Kindly go through the first article. Guys, actually this topic, it acquires huge significance in your pre-mains and essay part. You can expect a question because for several years, India is having a massive TB load. The burden due to TB have been mounting, excess stress on our public health system. Even though the union government, the state government, they have been taking bunch of initiatives to curtail the TB, but it is not enough. So in this context, the One World TB Summit was held in Varanasi on March 24, 2023. So in which actually the PM Narendra Modi, he had insisted they need to instill a fresh energy to fight the global TB, because these days it is not only bounded to India. Almost 30 countries, they are sharing a massive TB load. So in this article, the author have been insisting that the innovation and research are going to be the game changer in the fight against the TB. So this is what he have been repeatedly insisting in the article. The stem of the article is innovation and research. So let us have a brief recap on TB. TB, actually you might have known about the tuberculosis. It is a very ancient disease and it has been documented to have existed in Egypt as early as 3000 BC. So in 3000 BC itself, today's Egypt was having the TB load. So TB, it actually caused by a Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So this is the bacteria which is responsible for spreading the TB. And this fact is highly important from the prelims aspect. And they belong to the Mycobacteriaceae. Okay. This family actually it consists of almost 200 members. Some of the mycobacteria, they also causes leprosy in humans. So you might have known about the leprosy. It is a skin disease. So this is also caused by the same Mycobacteriaceae family. In humans, actually TB most commonly affects the lungs, which is termed as a pulmonary TB. So two major variants are there. One is pulmonary TB and another one is extrapulmonary TB. So these are the two variants of TB. Pulmonary TB, it actually affects the alveoli. So alveoli are the air sacs in the lungs. You might have studied in your higher secondary and all. So here actually the gas exchange will be happening. The oxygen and the carbon dioxide, it will get exchanged in the alveoli. So the rupture of alveoli, it will lead to the breathing difficulties. So once the body turns non-cooperative to the treatment protocol, means eventually the concerned patient will die. So with regard to the transmission and all, you might have known that the TB is spread from one person to person through the air. So the transmission is through the air. So TB have been spreading from one people to another through the air. So if you are standing or if you are sitting near the TB patient, means the probability of attracting the TB will be very high. Moreover, if you are having a weak immune system, means then the TB will show its symptoms once it's affected you. So compared to the COVID-19, the fatality of the TB is pretty higher. Almost all the countries are having the prevalence of TB. As I already told you, 30 countries in the world, they are having a massive TB load. India is also one among them. And here we should know some symptoms related to the TB. The first one, actually, you all well known. The patient will be having a cough, then chest pain will be there, then on-off fever will be there, the night sweats will be there. So these are the few symptoms related to the TB. And apart from these facts, we should know about the MDR TB and XDR TB. Okay, multi-drug resistant TB, you might have known. It actually reflected in the current affairs in the year of 2019. So even today, it occurs huge significance. So the major cause for these variants is abuse of antibiotics, because without any prescription, people tend to use the antibiotics through the over-the-counter medications and all people have been following these days. So because of the rampant use of the antibiotics, the TB is becoming resistant to the drugs, especially to the first line and the second line of the drugs. So if the TB is resistant to first line and the second line, means it will be termed as a MDR TB. So let me repeat once again. The MDR TB, it is a strain of TB. Okay, so it cannot be treated with the two powerful frontline antibiotics. If the TB is resistant towards the first line and the second line of antibiotic, means it will be termed as a MDR TB. And XDR TB, this is the advanced variant of MDR TB. Here, almost all the variants of the antibiotics, it will be useless in treating the patient. Okay, so that's what it is termed as a XDR TB. We are having several antibiotics, right? So the invention of antibiotics are the revolution in human history, and I hope you all well known about the antibiotics, because they used to treat not only against the bacterial diseases, but these days we are also tailoring certain antiviral medicines to treat the viral infections too. But antibiotics, we can use the antibiotics only against the bacteria. That you should know. For treating the viral infections, we are having antiviral medications. Okay. Then we should know about the BCG. Here actually I mentioned about the BCG. It is a vaccine. Okay. It came into use in the year of 1948, and Indian government actually they incorporated BCG vaccine as a part of the National TB Control Program. Okay, they actually included the BCG vaccine as a part of the National TB Control Program in the year of 1962. So these days, the BCG vaccine, it is also used as an immunotherapy agent in the patients who are having the urinary bladder cancer. Okay, so it is also used as a immunotherapy agent. And with respect to the BCG vaccine, there is one unique fact is there. The BCG vaccine, the efficiency, it will be very high in the countries who are locating far away from the equator. Okay, suppose India is locating here, right? So India is locating here, and the UK, Europe and all here. Okay, so the efficiency of the BCG vaccine, it will be very high in the European landscape compared to the Indian landscape. But unfortunately, the countries who are locating near the equator having very high TB load. So that's a peculiar phenomenon we are facing. Let me erase this. And here we should know, we all well know, even after having multiple frontline antibiotics, the TB is still poses a danger to the humanity, right? So according to the WHO, last year alone, 10.6 million people, they became infected with TB, and almost 1.6 million people, they actually face their death due to the TB infections. So these are the facts you should know. Globally, 10.6 million people, they were affected. And the fatality was around 1.6 million. So almost 16 lakh people, they died due to TB, and almost 1 crore 60 lakh people, they were affected with TB. So this was the fact which was released by the WHO. Therefore, we can assume that the disease burden due to the TB is very high compared to the COVID-19. So if the disease, if it is left untreated, means it is going to disrupt the country. It is going to create a havoc in the economy. Okay. So that's the degree of threat the disease have been possessing to the humanity. Then another one thing, friends, compared to the urban landscape, rural region are facing untold threat because the literacy level will be very low in the rural region, and the sanitation will be very poor. Okay. Apart from these facts, the most vulnerable are infants, then children who are below 18 years of age, then old age people. So apart from these vulnerable groups, the woman who is aged above 40 are also, they are more vulnerable to this disease. In yesterday's discussion, we had a brief about NCDs, right? So non-communicable diseases, we had a discussion yesterday. So if the people is if the patient is having any of the NCDs, means then the the time for recovery also will be very high, and they are also more prone to death due to the TB. So these are the few things you should know. Now let us come to the article. Here the author actually states that due to various initiatives, India is keeping the disease. India is actually keeping multiple checks on the disease prevalence. Here, she also states that the government handling of COVID-19 is exceptional, and we should know how government actually tackled the COVID-19 prevalence, and we should take some insights from the mechanisms what we put into fight against the COVID-19. So this is what she have been stating in the article. He also states that we need to replicate the same model for TB. And another one thing, she also discusses about the National TB Elimination Program, and actually she is praising the program. It actually giving out the desired progress and all, but it is not enough like that, she have been stating. And she states that the Indian government, it did a formidable job in the past treatment protocols and all, but it is not enough. The disease prevalence is very high, so we need to take some lessons from the pandemic. In the pandemic, actually, we did a massive number of testings, okay, and we put in place multiple protocols for testings and all, and we actually used user-friendly diagnostic tools like swab test and all. Actually, even the individual, they can take a sample in their home itself, and these cost-effective mechanisms and the combined treatment protocols with multiple vaccines actually helped us to eliminate the COVID-19, not even fully, but actually we curtailed the prevalence of the COVID-19, right? So that's what actually she have been insisting us to formulate the mechanism in such a way to incorporate the insights what we had taken from the COVID-19. Right now, with respect to TB, we are having multiple tests like skin test, blood test and all we are having, okay? Skin test, blood test. But these tests, they are exceptionally very pricey, and the common people, they won't afford to take the test, okay? And another one thing, for every single cases of TB detection, actually we are missing out some 2 patients. So these 2 patients, in the course of time, they actually becoming a stress to the health system. Therefore, he insists the government to develop a simpler diagnostic tool, and she also insisting that the government should they actually should do a massive screening of the patients. For these things to be achieved, we actually requiring the right amount of innovation and research. Okay, so these are the two parameters she actually have been insisting throughout the article. So once we developed the home diagnostic kits means, then the screening will be much more easier, right? Because these kits actually, they should have a high accuracy as like what we had done in the COVID-19, the swab test. Because swab test, they are having high accuracy and it is user friendly. Also, the cost effective of swab test is very high. It is not as cost as like the skin test and blood test what we are following in the TB protocol. But these developments require more and more research, and it also requiring the collaboration between the government and the private entities, and we also requiring massive investments in our health system. Then only we can devise such mechanisms to eliminate the TB in the long run. This is what she have been insisting. And she also states that BCG vaccines, they are having high efficiency, but there are certain lacunas are there. One, I already told you, their efficiency will be very high in the countries which are locating far away from the equator. And also, these BCG vaccines, they are having some lower efficiency on women. So that also we need to take in our note. Like the pattern in defeating the COVID-19, the bunch of effective vaccines are also need to be developed, because with respect to TB, we are having very few vaccines, but for COVID-19, we actually had multiple vaccines in our arsenals, right? So that's what she have been insisting, that we need to develop multiple vaccines and we need to do multiple screening tests. By these protocols only, we can eliminate the TB, like that she have been concluding. So this is the gist of the article, and with this note, let us move on to the next article. The article title is India's fighter jet conundrum. The article actually it highlights that there is a huge deficiency in the Indian Air Force squadrons. The article actually the article have been focusing on the depleting squadron strength of Indian Air Force. Guys, the total squadron strength is 42 fighter squadrons. Okay, that's the sanction strength. The total sanction strength is 42 squadrons. This is the minimum threshold we are supposed to keep, because we are having a possibility to fight a two frontline war, the one with Pakistan and another one with China. If they unitedly attacking our territory means, the 42 squadrons will be a minimum strength we would be requiring. But sad scenario, we are having only 31 squadrons. Okay, we are having only 31 squadrons, which won't go up in the next decade also. That's what the article have been highlighting. On the contrary, the article states that the strength what we are having, it is going to dip down by 2029. So from 31 squadrons, by 2029, we will be having some below 29 squadrons. So this is what the article have been discussing. By 2035, okay, by 2035, we will be having 31 to 35 squadrons. So even after 12 years, the squadron strength won't meet the threshold of 42. What does it highlights? Okay, several factors are there, guys. We don't have indigenous production. Okay, so we don't have indigenous production. Let me write here. We don't have indigenous production, and we don't have any single fighter jet engine. Okay, indigenous jet engine. Kaveri actually we are having. Okay, actually we were planning to incorporate the Kaveri engine in LCA Tejas, but with respect to the Kaveri engine, the body weight thrust ratio is very poor. So in LCA Tejas, we are infusing the GE make engines. Okay, GE actually General Electric, it is a company, it based out of US. So in LCA Tejas program, we are incorporating the GE engines. Then thirdly, there is a delay in procurement. Okay, the procurement delays are there. So this is another one concern. Now let us take an example of Rafale. For Rafale, it actually had taken almost 10 years to complete the deal. in this timeline, the government had done the Rafale procurement as an emergency procurement, but even for that, it had taken almost 10 years. Then fourthly, the cost, okay. Both the initial investment is very high and the maintenance and overhaul cost for each fighter jet is exorbitantly high, okay. And the procurement delays also have been costing the cost to overrun. So these are the few concerns which are there with respect to the procurement of the fighter jets. Recently, actually, the Indian Air Force, they submitted a detailed report to the Standing Committee on Defense. It is a parliamentary committee, it is a permanent committee. Okay, in which actually they clearly stated the impact and the forecast which are going to be adverse to the Air Force. So right now, as I already told you, we are having 31 squadrons. It is already predicted that squadron strength, it is going to get slumped by 29 squadrons by the end of the decade. By 2029, we are going to have 29 squadrons. So even after new procurements, it is going to be between 31 to 35. That too by 2035. Almost 12 years from now, we will be having a 31 to 35 squadrons. But surely it won't achieve the threshold what we are supposed to have, right? So here in the image you can see, this is a Sukhoi 30 MKI. Right now we are having some 12 squadrons in it. So this is a very advanced aircraft. And this is the Jaguar we procured from UK. And it belongs to the third generation fighter aircraft. And UK is the maker of Jaguar. And MiG-29, Sukhoi and MiG variants, these all are from Russia, okay. So MiG-21 and MiG-29 actually we procured from the then USSR. So today actually we are having Russia, but in the past actually it was a USSR. So from USSR actually we procured MiG-21 and MiG-29. And Mirage, in the Balakot airstrike and in the surgical strike actually we used a Mirage, okay. And with respect to MiG-21, it is known as a flying coffin of Indian Air Force. Lot of accidents will be happening in the MiG-21 variant. So these are all the variants we are going to replace, and in the near future we are going to replace Jaguar, MiG-21, Mirage 200 and MiG-29. And apart from that, recently we inducted Rafale, and it was a Dassault Aviation's product, so it's based out of France. And the LCA program, you all well know, in the 1980, the government launched the LCA program. Right now, we are having only 2 squadrons and multiple testings are going on for the advanced variants of LCA. And here actually they had given the LCA variant, okay. These are the future aircraft procurement plans. And with respect to the AMCA, actually here the Indian government is looking up for the indigenous production. And yeah, with respect to the MRFA, medium role fighter aircraft, here we are going to doing the procurements and all from US and other countries. So F-18 is in the list, okay, F-18 Super Hornet is in the list, and we are also thinking of Rafale, okay. And with respect to the LCA Mk2, it is going to be the indigenous make. So these are the few plans the government is having, but the delays and all these delays and all the government hadn't envisioned so far. But the article, they have been stating very clearly that by 2035 we will be having only some 31 to 35 squadrons, okay. So the emergency procurement plan the government should put into place, then only we can actually will be having the threshold of 42 squadrons. And if we are coming to the Indian Navy, means they are actually looking up for Rafale naval variant, some 26 aircrafts they are acquiring. And TEBDF, it is a HAL product, okay. It is a HAL product, it is a twin engine deck-based fighter aircraft, and they are looking up for greater than 45 aircrafts. So these are all the requirements what Navy is also having. With respect to the AMCA, the initial design is approved, but the whole project is yet to be approved by the cabinet. So the issue presents here, critical gap in India's ambitious plan of modernization. This is what the article itself is highlighting. And here we should know what we can do further, and we should know how we can resolve this issue. And because the squadron strength is 42, so if any war arises between India and the China or Pakistan, means it will be going to be a critical game changer in favor of the opponents. So this requires defense reforms to speed up the procurement plans, and the Indian Air Force have been requiring more and more budget allocation to prevent the cost overrun through the procurement delays. So these large scale changes has to be done to achieve the above sanctioned strength of 42 squadrons. Then only India's interest on borders and on the broad Indo-Pacific region will be upheld, because these days in the Indo-Pacific region also the Chinese fleet have been expanding. So if we are having sufficient squadron strength, means we can patrol in the Indian Ocean region and we can enforce our India's interest. Okay. So with this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the third article of the day. It is about the PSLV C-55 mission. Tomorrow from the ISRO's launch pad in Sriharikota, ISRO is going to launch the PSLV C-55. So in this mission, we are collectively going to launch some foreign customer satellites. So ISRO these days, they have been coming up with some cost-effective solutions with respect to the satellite launches. So here in this mission, it will launch the Singapore's Helios 2 as a primary satellite. So this will be the primary payload in tomorrow's PSLV C-55 mission. And the secondary payload will be Lumilite 4. Okay, it is a co-passenger satellite. And here in this mission, after the deployments, okay, after placing the Helios 2 and the Lumilite 4 in orbit, ISRO is going to conduct several research in the PS4 stage. PS4 stage, it is a fourth stage of the PSLV vehicle. So here ISRO is going to conduct several research, and which is termed as a PSLV orbital experimental module. Here they had given PSLV orbital experimental module. And with respect to the PSLV orbital experimental module, it is not the first time the ISRO is going to conduct the mission. In the past also, ISRO conducted twice the same research patterns. Let me once again repeat this. After placing the primary payload, the Helios 2 and the Lumilite 4, the ISRO will be conducting the research, ISRO will be testing certain research mechanisms in the PS4 stage. So PS4 stage, they are going to conduct several research, and there they will be conducting the research without releasing any payloads. So some static payloads will be there in the vehicle. With that static payloads, they are going to conduct this research, and it is termed as a PSLV orbital experimental module. And here guys, you should know some basic facts about the PSLV launch vehicle. It is one of the most reliable launch vehicle of the ISRO, and they are termed as a working horse of ISRO. Okay, so PSLV, it composed of 4 stages. In the first stage, 2 solid strap-on motors will be there. So this is the first stage, and in the second stage, we will be having a liquid engine. I think the Vikas engine we will be having. Then the third stage is also propelled by the solid propellant motors. Then in the fourth stage also we will be having a liquid motors. And here the PS4 stage, it actually comes in this stage. So where actually the liquid engine will be operating, and ISRO will be conducting multiple research with a release of actually they are going to conduct the research based on the static payloads. And this article, it is about the sloth bear. In Trivandrum, actually, the sloth bear, it had been fallen in well. So in the rescue process, they darted it. Okay, the darting, actually, it will be having some sedative. So in rescue of animals, usually the forest officials, they used to dart the animal, and after becoming unconscious, they will rescue the animal and they will release into the wildlife habitat. So in the yesterday's rescue plan, the darting mechanisms, it actually had risked their life, because after darting, the Indian bear, it will become unconscious and it drowned in the well. Okay, so that's what actually the article, it came in the newspaper. Here in the title itself, they had given sloth bear falls into the well, drowns after being darted during the rescue mission. So forest officials, they actually used to dart the animal. Okay, because actually in the rescue plan, it will be a safer protocol in rescuing the animal. So that's what actually they used to dart the animal. But in yesterday's mission, it went wrong against the animal. And here we should know about the sloth bear. Sloth bears, they are also known as Indian bears. Okay, it is native to the Indian subcontinent. So that's what we are terming it as a Indian bears. And these sloth bears, they are also found in Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and Nepal also. Predominantly, they are living in lowland areas. So, they are feeding, with respect to their feeding and all, actually, sloth bears primarily eat termites and ants. And they routinely, actually, they carry their cubs on their backs. So, that's a unique feature with respect to the sloth bear. They are also very fond of honey. Okay, so that's what they are also termed as a honey bear. And sloth bear, as like other mammals, as like other wildlife mammals, they won't hibernate. So there is no hibernation for sloth bear. With respect to the scientific name and all, Melursus ursinus. So actually, I don't think so. The UPSC will be asking the scientific name and all, so it's not needed. And with respect to the habitat, actually, it is a forest dwelling member. Okay, so mostly it will habitate the tropical or subtropical regions in the Indian subcontinent. So the tropical forest and the subtropical forest are the predominant habitats of the sloth bear. With respect to the IUCN, it is in the vulnerable status. And with respect to the WPA Act, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Indian government incorporated the sloth bear in the Schedule 1, so it occurs massive protection against the poachers. And the threat, we all well known, these are the same threats what we are facing with other wild animals also, the habitat destruction, agriculture expansion, then the man-animal conflict. So these all are interconnected. Due to the agriculture expansion, their habitat will be destroyed. Then they will come in contact with the human beings who are living in this space. Because in the forest, there will be a scarcity for resources, and that's what actually they used to invade the human spaces. There actually, due to the man-animal conflict, they will face their death. So this is what it have been happening. But due to the efficient forest officials, these wild animals, they are captured from the conflict area and they are releasing in the wildlife habitats. And now with this note, let us move on to the next article. This is the last article. Government plans 100 e-trade food streets across India. So under e-trade movement, 100 e-trade food streets will be installed across India. So this is what it actually reflected in the news. Guys, as we know, the hygiene standards of street foods, right? The hygiene standards will be suboptimal. Even though certain entities, they are maintaining some top-notch standards in their food. But with respect to the taste, street foods will be so good, okay? Therefore, to promote the tasty street foods with the better hygiene standards, government have been rolling out this initiative. Today, actually, we will be discussing about the e-trade movement and all. Even in our yesterday's discussion, we had a talk related to the FSSA and e-trade movement, right? So this movement actually it aligned with the government's flagship programs are there, right? Poshan Abhiyan, it is related to the new National Nutrition Mission. Its another name is. And we are also having Anemia Mukt Bharat. Then Ayushman Bharat we are having. So then the Swachh Bharat mission. Because in the Swachh Bharat alone, we are discussing about the hygiene standards and all. So actually, it acting as a linchpin between these programs. And with respect to the e-trade movement, this e-trade movement, it was launched by the FSSAI. So FSSAI, it came into existence through the FSSAI Act of 2008. And with respect to the e-trade movement, we should know some basics. The movement actually, it aims to cut down the sugar, salt and oil. Okay, sugar, salt and oil, these are the three things it aims to cut off by 30% in the next 3 years. Because for all the NCDs, these are all the key factors behind the cost. Actually, these salt, sugar and oil are the causative agents behind the NCDs. Even though NCDs are lifestyle diseases, but if we are cutting down this salt intake, sugar intake and oil intake means we can reduce the prevalence of NCDs. And this program, it aims to engage and enable citizens to improve their health and well-being by making the right food choices. And for that, actually, they are keeping one measure. They actually, FSSA actually insisted the entities who are involving in the food business to keep the total polar compounds by 25% in the cooking oil. What is meant by the total polar compounds? These total polar compounds, okay, they will be in the fried oil because for frying and all we will be using the oil, right? So there the fats will be there. These fats actually it will be in the form of triglycerol and total polar compound. So once if the oil is repeatedly used for frying means the proportion of the total polar compounds in the oil will be very high. And if it is exceeding the 25% means we are not supposed to use the oil. This is what FSSAI have been insisting to the entities who are involving in the food processing sector. Okay. So because if we are consuming the total polar compounds in an excess rate means the cortisol hormone in our human system will be, the secretion will be very high, and it will lead to the generation of carcinogens in the human body. In the course of time, it can also lead to the cancer, the fatal disease. Okay. So if the consumption of TPC is very high means the prevalence with respect to the cancer also will be very high. That's what the FSSAI have been insisting on, reducing the total polar compounds in the cooking oil. So with this note, let us wind up the article section. Now let us dive into the question part. So this is the first question. With reference to the Indian economy, consider the following statements. So the first statement, if the inflation is too high means RBI is likely to buy government securities. When the RBI will buy government securities? To absorb the excess liquidity in the market, or to pump out the government securities and the liquidity, there is a direct proportion. Okay. So if the government is selling the if the RBI is selling the government security means they will be they will be flushing out the liquid from the economy system. So in most of the economy, the central bank, they will be selling the government security to absorb the excess liquidity. So if the inflation is too high means RBI, they should flush out the liquid. Okay. For flushing out the liquidity in the system, they will be selling the government security. They won't buy the government security. So the statement 1 is wrong. Then the second one, if the rupee is rapidly depreciating means RBI is likely to sell dollars in the market. So this is true. So if the rupee is depreciating means RBI will be selling the dollars and it will be purchasing the excess rupee in the market. That's how it will calibrate the rupee dollar pricing mechanisms. So the second statement is right. Then the third one, if interest rates in the USA or European Union were to fall means that is likely to induce RBI to buy dollars. This is also true. Okay. So option 2 and 3 are right for the question number 1. Then this is question number 2. Tight monetary policy of US Federal Reserve could lead to the capital flight. Okay. Here, the tight monetary policy of US Federal Reserve, it won't lead to the capital flight. If they are having some loosened monetary policy means, it will lead to the capital flight from other countries. So, the first option is wrong. Then the second one, capital flight may increase the cost of films with existing commercial borrowings. Okay. This is true. And the third one, the devaluation of the domestic currency decreases the currency risk associated with ECBs. This is also true. So both the statement 2 and 3 are correct. The answer option C is the right one. Moreover, with respect to the devaluation of dollars means, okay, if the domestic currency is getting devaluated or depreciated means the exports will become very competitive. That also you should know. Then this is the third one. Which one of the following lakes of West Africa has become dry and turned into a desert? It actually appeared in the current affair. Lake Fagubin is the right one. So this is the direct hit. Answer option B. And Fagubin, it actually locating in the state of Mali, which is in the Africa. And Fagubin, it have been locating in the southern portion of the Saharan desert. So statement B is the right one for the question number 3. With this note, let us wind up our today's discussion. Let me catch you in another discussion in the upcoming week. Thank you for your patience. Kindly revise the topics what we are discussing every day. Let me catch you in another discussion. Bye.